Hey everyone, welcome back to another episode of Twins Talk Arsenal. Today we're coming back after Arsenal made it a bit difficult for themselves, but eventually ran out quite comfortable winners, 3-1 against Olympiacos, out in Greece again for the second time in the Europa League this year. Stas, how did you feel about that performance today?
I mean, it was a good performance overall. Arsenal, dominated the game for large parts of it. Ultimately, we have 3 away goals, which is great. It's a positive first leg, is what I'd say. Especially after, giving the goal away, we could have found ourselves 2-1 down as well before we got those 2 late goals. So, ultimately to come away with a 3-1 win, very much deserved. But, we haven't always seen it in the past. So Arsenal have got what they've deserved. So, still to play for in the second leg, but definitely a good first leg result.
I think you really felt that in the first half, you keep seeing this with Arsenal in the season, that we really played well in the first half of games. And you felt like today, when you were watching us play, we were pressing together as a team. We were fluid in our position. We were posing a threat every time we moved forward. You really felt like our first half performance was one of a real team that can go on and challenge for these places in Europe, which is what we're hoping for in the Premier League. And then once again, we had that little slip up where we're basically beating ourselves when we're playing teams. Unlike other games this season, we actually managed to turn around and win the game quite convincingly towards the end. But yeah, it was a real game of highs and lows, and I think you get that with Arsenal. You never really quite know what you're going to get, and it's always a little bit of a roller coaster until you get to the end result.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I think, great goal from Odegaard. First goal for Arsenal. Hopefully, there's more of that to come. It was a good all-round performance from him. As an example, he was sloppy at times, but overall it was a good game. But, like you mentioned, it was always one of those that when Thomas Partey went off, you were always a bit worried about Dani Ceballos. He gifted Benfica a few goals in the last round. It wasn't necessarily his fault. I do blame Leno for the goal that we conceded, but he's still one of those, whoever you blame at the end of the day, we're giving away such cheap goals. When that goal goes in, part of all Arsenal fans, you do fear for Arsenal. We were very nervous after that goal. For the next 10, 15 minutes, we kind of seemed to lose all composure. We basically completely dominated the game beforehand, but after that goal, it was like, the players lost their positional sense. They kind of didn't know what to do. But then, they found their composure when it mattered, is what I'd say. Great goal from Gabriel, like great header. Got to give Willian credit as well. Another assist for him. Slowly but surely looks to be coming back to the form which he had at Chelsea, which is great. And then, the third goal from El Neni, it's one of those, maybe he wouldn't score that every time, maybe. But, if you don't buy the ticket, you don't win the lottery. He had his chance, he took it, and it was a great goal.
What a goal by El Neni. I think you were sitting there as an Arsenal fan, so happy for the guy, because you know that he gets a little bit of stick, and sometimes he's not the first choice player, but that was such a banging goal. I'm really happy that he managed to have that moment in his career where he scores a goal like that. That was a great goal.
Yeah, definitely. What I was going to add to that as well, you saw in the celebration from the Arsenal players.
Yeah, you did.
I think you saw that, they know that maybe Elneny doesn't score so many in training or whatever. You could tell it meant a lot to him. But, it's good. It's a very important goal for Arsenal. Even, with the tie at 2-1, it's very firmly poised. So to get that third away goal as well, obviously, still to play for in the second leg, but it gives us a bit of breathing room.
Yeah, I mean, now Olympiacos need to come to Arsenal and score 3 goals. I don't want to say that we're through the round yet, but we've definitely got one step in the next round. And this is the kind of result that you wanted. You felt like if it was going to be a 1-1 draw, or if we were going to, if we had just kind of conceded that goal and then lasted out the game, it's again us making it really difficult for ourselves, exactly like we did in the last round where we scraped through by the skin of our teeth. And we can't keep doing that in games. We can't keep making it that difficult for ourselves, because eventually we're going to get caught out. I think one of the things which kind of worries me about Arsenal at the moment is a lot of commentators, a lot of fans are kind of taking it for granted that the Europa League is our way back into Europe. They're like, oh, Arsenal are 10th in the league right now, so they've just got to go win the Europa League. We've in my lifetime, we've not won a European Cup. We've lost 2 finals in my lifetime. Like, people are taking it for granted that we've got a pretty good chance of winning the Europa League. I really don't think we do, especially if we're giving teams goals like we did today. So I still think the league is massively important. We need to do as much as we can to try and climb that table, because all it takes is a turning off in one game in these Europa League games, and you're going to lose the game. But yeah, it was a good win today, despite the goal that we gave away. And I'm hoping that Leno can kind of drop these mistakes from his game, which he seems to be having recently.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I do agree with that. I think, in terms of the Arsenal players, we've said it time and time again. We saw how good Arsenal can be. Arsenal did completely dominate this game. We came out with real intent to get the result. You saw it from the outset. There was no indication of Arsenal being sloppy early on. Overall, Arsenal did dominate the game for large spells. So, that's kind of seeing the best of Arsenal on one hand. But then, you see the goal that we concede. I think it was after 20 minutes as well. Odegaard did a stray ball and they were through one-on-one.
David Luiz's
error. Really, Olympiacos should have scored from that. Like, it's one of those, ultimately, luckily, Olympiacos, weren't good enough to take those chances.
Yeah.
But, we've got Tottenham at the weekend. We've got Liverpool coming up. Like, we can't be giving away these types of chances.
Yeah, because
it needs to be cut out of our game.
If we're giving these kind of chances to Harry Kane, who scored twice tonight, Tottenham are going to score. This was exactly what happened in the last game we had against Tottenham, where I'm not going to say we dominated the game, but we were the better team, but we gave them 2 chances, and I think they scored both their shots on goal. So we need to cut these mistakes out, because better teams will punish us for them.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, especially Tottenham with Harry Kane. He's obviously a great forward. He kind of doesn't need an invitation to score against Arsenal. So we can't be giving it to him on a plate, kind of thing.
Yeah. But I don't want to be too negative. Like, that's going to come on the weekend. But right now, I actually think it was one of the more complete performances that we've seen from Arsenal. I really felt like, apart from the goal that we gave away in the 10, 15-minute spell where we kind of dropped off, I really felt like we bossed the game. We were on the offensive the whole time, and you're starting to see the stamp which Arteta is trying to place on the team. And I know that there are going to be mistakes as we try and play out of the back, just like there were with Man City when Pep first came to Man City. But I'm hoping that we start seeing these performances from Arsenal for longer. I think we saw it for about 60 minutes. Normally we've been seeing it for 45 this season. I'm hoping that we can start seeing it for a full 90 minutes at one point.
Yeah, definitely. And then also, just generically speaking, obviously against better teams, I know Olympiacos, don't get me wrong, by no means are they a bad team, especially at their ground. But, you do want to see these types of performances consistently in the Premier League as well.
Yeah.
But it will come in time. It's definitely a learning curve for all the players, learning Arteta's way of playing, his style of football, etc. So it is a massive learning curve for these players. But, it was a great performance today. And, hopefully we can carry it on in a week's time. But they just have to keep the mindset that it's still all to play for and not get complacent.
Yeah, I agree, because, we're 3-1 up, which is great, and they need 3 goals. But if there's any team in the world that can give away a goal or 2, it's Arsenal. So, they really only need to cut us open once, maybe twice, and we'll probably give them a chance or 2 in the game as well. So we need to make sure that our game management is on point for the return leg. When it comes to Arteta's first team choice, he's got a bit of a hard decision now, because he's got a couple of players which are on form. Pepe's playing pretty well. Willian has started to kind of recapture the form that we signed him for. You've still got Saka banging it out. I think he's got a hard couple of decisions to make. What first 11 would you pick for the game against Tottenham on the weekend?
Yeah, I mean, it is tough. I mean, in goal, you kind of have to go for Leno, but that's more because of a lack of options, I think. Um,
Yeah,
you
because
know,
the better keeper was playing for Aston Villa.
yeah, basically. Left and right back obviously is pretty nailed on with Bellerin and Tierney. Centre back, we obviously have, an abundance of choice. I probably would play Gabriel because he's physical, he's fast, etc. Who you play alongside him, maybe Holding if he's fit, is probably the number one. It's tough. David Luiz has got the experience, but
He's also got the
maybe we
mistakes.
need, huh?
He's also got the mistakes.
Yeah, exactly. And I'm just thinking, we can't afford that against Harry Kane,
Yeah,
and Son, and these types of players. Um, in the middle of the park, probably has to be Thomas Partey and Granit Xhaka.
has to be.
Like Granit Xhaka again, great performance from him. Partey, great performance from him. He only lasted about 55 minutes today. Hopefully that was, a precaution to kind of wrap him in cotton wool for the Tottenham game, because we need him, or for the full 90 minutes, we need him
Yep.
in that game. We don't need him for 40, 45 minutes in that game. We need him for the full 90. Um, Up top, I would probably play Aubameyang just because, you know, he's our main man. He's the lethal finisher. He can score those chances if it comes to him. Um, if Emil Smith Rowe is fit, I would probably play him ahead of Odegaard. But
Really?
I would, because of the form that he showed, since he came in over the festive period. You know, he did make the number 10 position his own until Odegaard arrived. But Arteta does seem to have a preference for Odegaard in the number 10 role. And, by that logic, it looks like Odegaard will be the number 10 until the end of the season. Um,
I don't think Arteta's going to drop Odegaard because I know he made a couple of mistakes today, but I actually felt like he was our best player when he was on the pitch. He was constantly receiving the ball and trying to go onto the turn. He was constantly trying to make things happen, and he really linked our play up. I don't see Odegaard losing his place.
yeah, no, definitely. Like, by no means is he bad. But I think it's just a case of, Emil Smith Rowe, to an extent, offered more when he played in the post-festive period. He got a few goals, few assists. Whereas you're looking at Odegaard, he's got his first goal involvement today. Got his first goal today, which is great, of course. But I don't know, like Emil Smith Rowe, I think he offered a little bit more energy in and around the box. Whereas Odegaard is maybe a bit more of a dribbler, but doesn't have as much energy overall. But don't get me wrong, I think they're both great players, both good in the number 10 position. And, either one could be in our starting lineup. And like I said, by no means is Odegaard bad. Like, he's a great player. But I think Emil Smith Rowe, shouldn't be disregarded as well. On the right hand side, I think Saka's pretty nailed on. He's a
Yeah,
consistent performer now for Arsenal. It's just on that left hand side. If you go for Willian or Pepe, basically, and then if you go for Pepe, do you put him on the left or do you put him on the right where he can cut in? I think that's kind of the key area, so to speak.
mm.
It probably is between them two, Willian and Pepe on the left, if you're going to play Aubameyang up top rather than shunting him to the left wing. Um, I don't know. It's a tough choice. I think maybe Pepe offers more overall, but then if Willian, rediscovers his form, which he showed for Chelsea, which he is showing in recent weeks, if he can give us that offensive output, he probably does offer more defensively. So,
Yeah.
it's just finding that balance. But then, this is Arsenal. We have so many injuries every season. We have, so many players which just lose form out of nowhere. So it's nice to be in a position where you've got Pepe knocking on the door, Willian knocking on the door, etc. We need that competition in the squad. We need these players to be pushing each other to be better, basically,
I think
because
yeah,
it's not been good enough overall this season.
I think Pepe is one of those players that needs that competition to raise his game up. I think if he walks into a squad, he's a bit lazy, but if he's got somebody pushing him, I think he kind of raises his game. Um, Personally, I don't see Arteta dropping Willian at the moment. I think he's kind of you can see the benefit from both players when you've got Willian starting if he's in form, And then if you use Pepe as an impact sub with the kind of pace and trickery that he's got, I think that's kind of the formula Arteta's going for right now. And I kind of see him starting the same team that he started tonight against Tottenham, considering how well we played for the first 60 minutes.
Yeah, definitely. It's just a case, I guess, of how, jet lagged they are. Like, it depends what time they come back. There's not much recovery time, so it depends on the players' fitness levels and whatnot. But I do completely agree. I think the team that started today should start against Tottenham. Probably is our strongest team. And we played well overall against Olympiacos, so the same team should be given a chance against Tottenham.
I think just before we kind of head off, I just want to mention one man who I think he's not going to get mentioned a lot, but he kind of should, which is Kieran Tierney. This dude again was phenomenal today. I don't think he puts a foot wrong in his position. Every cross is on point, like an amazing cross. He beats his man every single time he runs at him, and he's also a quality defender as well. He didn't get an assist or a goal today, but my God, I think he was one of our best players on the pitch. He makes such a difference when he's in our squad, and hopefully we can kind of keep him fit for the rest of the season, because we're going to need him to charge up the table and charge towards the Europa League final, hopefully.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, it was another great performance from him. I think, when you listen to Arteta's pre-match interview, and, he talks about how Arsenal are, going to go bang and we're going to perform. It's just kind of a matter of time for it to happen and for things to click into place.
Yeah.
I do kind of agree with that. When you look at the team that we've got, when everyone's fully fit, when everyone's performing, we've got a great left back in Kieran Tierney. We've got a great centre back in Gabriel, and also, Rob Holding when he plays, like great players. We've got Thomas Partey, Granit Xhaka. They look to be great in central midfield, when they're playing together. We've got Saka when he plays on the right, and then whoever it is on the left, Pepe or Willian, they're starting to look promising. And then obviously Aubameyang up top. I know he's had a bit of a stop-start season, but overall, he's a world-class forward or a world-class finisher. So, it's one of those that we've got players which are playing well and are performing, but it's a case of getting these players to, play well consistently, play well together, and, to carry that consistency throughout the whole season rather than to do it for one game. A lot of the Arsenal players are maybe turning it on and off a little bit. Not Kieran Tierney. I think he's one of the ones which is doing it consistently throughout this season. But I'm just saying overall, I think that's probably the reason why Arsenal haven't, gone bang just quite yet, like Arteta mentioned. There is just a bit too much inconsistency with the current group of players overall. But, you definitely see the potential there.
I think one of the interesting things which I've kind of noticed over the last few games is, I think defensively we look more solid than we have looked in years. I think when it comes to defending corners, when it comes to defending set pieces, and from open play as well, we look like a very good team. The reason that we haven't kept a clean sheet in the past 9 games is purely because of our mistakes, which I'm hoping comes from the players not being used to Arteta's system, just as the players at Man City weren't used to Pep's system. I remember when Man City first came with Pep for their first season, you had commentators saying, "Oh, I don't think his brand of football can work in the Premier League." They were giving away goals from playing out from the back. And I'm kind of hoping it's the same process at Arsenal, where we have these mistakes now. We all know this is going to be a transitional season with maybe the hope of the Europa League at the end of it. And I'm hoping by next season, that's the kind of bang that Arteta is hoping for, where we've got that defensive stability, we look fluid, we look attacking going forward, and we've cut these mistakes out because suddenly our players are a lot more comfortable on the ball. I'm hoping that's what he means by clicking into gear, exactly what happened at City. But obviously, we're doing it with a lot less money and currently losing money as well because of the COVID situation.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, it is hard to obviously compare us to Man City when they can go out and not to necessarily buy the best players in each position, but they can splash a lot of money on players in each position to an extent until they get it right, whereas Arsenal don't have that luxury. But yeah, I think if we can find players that are comfortable with the way that we play, etc., you can tell that the way that we play is promising. Like, it will bring positive results, but we do need players which are comfortable playing that way.
Yeah. Which you
And
feel like
what they're
Lennon might
doing.
not be.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, he's good overall, but he makes these individual errors which cost us goals. And it's not just him. Like David Luiz made the error earlier on in the game. Odegaard made the error earlier on in the game. So really, we could have been like we could have conceded 3 goals from those 3 errors.
Yeah.
The biggest issue with Arsenal is that we give these errors. Like, when the opponents score against us, it's not an amazing bit of play or a wonder goal or anything like that. They score these goals because we give them the goals. Like, we put them in the position where they're 1-on-1, 2-on-2, etc. Rather than it being a great bit of magic or skill for them to put themselves in that position. So I think that's the key thing with Arsenal, where we need to improve for this season, but obviously for next and moving forward as well. We can't keep shooting ourselves in the foot. It has happened time and time again this season.
Yeah, it's the only way we're conceding, really.
Yeah, exactly. Like, we bailed ourselves out against Olympiacos, but too many times this season we haven't done that, like against Burnley.
Yeah. Hopefully we do kind of sort that out, but that's definitely something which needs to be fixed moving forward. I think you really felt the difference of Partey being on and off the pitch. As soon as he came off, suddenly we were like a deflated balloon. They were walking through us for about 15, 20 minutes until we can kind of find that stability again. Goes to show how important he is to this team moving forward. Yeah, I don't want to be too negative though, because I think this is one of the better performances that we've seen actually from Arsenal this year, and hopefully we can use it to actually go and beat Spurs on the weekend. They've kind of seen an upturn in form recently. We tend to not play teams when they're doing badly. We tend to play them when they're just on their upturn. So we're playing Spurs now, and then we've got Liverpool in a few games' time as well, who've just started to win games again. So hopefully we can come through those two games unscathed and try and do a little bit better.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, we've got 3 very tough games in the Premier League coming up. We've got the North London derby, we've got West Ham, which is another London derby, and then we've got the Liverpool game after that. And obviously we've got, the Olympiacos second leg. So, our next 4 games, very tough, but, let's show what we're about, kind of thing. Let's go and get good results in all 4 games, show why we're Arsenal. Let's see the players with the determination, the commitment, the desire to win these games. Let's take it from there. Like, at the end of the day, this is Arsenal, and the players shouldn't be scared for these fixtures.
I think just one last thing. I think when Arsenal were playing under Emery, I know Arteta's got a lot of fans which criticise him and don't believe in his projects, right? But when Arsenal were playing under Emery, you could tell that the team wasn't behind him. We weren't creating chances, we weren't working. Like, it wasn't just that we were losing games or drawing games. We were looking like the second best team in every single game that we played. Every team that we played, we couldn't create against, and they were threatening us. I think the difference with Arteta is, yeah, we are giving goals away, and hopefully that's got to be cut out by the end of the season. But today we played against effectively a team that was in the Champions League, right? That dropped out down into the Europa League, and we were by far the better team, and anyone can see that. When you look at like our expected goals or our expected goals conceded, they've been on a tangent up throughout the whole season. So I really think the fans that are like stressed out or frustrated with Arteta need to give him more time, because it's not like we're watching a team play where we're not seeing progress. I think we're making clear progress and we're seeing clear progress. It's just that the Premier League table doesn't reflect that at the moment. And I know that's frustrating.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, it is Arteta's first season, first full season. We do need to give him time. We need to let him bring in the players he wants to bring in for his philosophy. And, we'll take it from there. Also, the season's not over. don't get me wrong, I'm not saying it's probable by any means that we'll win the Europa League, but if we were to, all of a sudden these Arsenal fans would be praising Arteta. So,
Yeah.
we've got to see what happens. If we could win the Europa League, it'd be a great season for Arsenal. But I do appreciate it's very fine margins. If we don't win the Europa League, it will be a terrible season. But, building blocks, we have to see what happens and then take it from there and hopefully build on next season.
Yeah, I agree. Thank you so much for watching, everyone. If you liked what you saw, please feel free to like, comment, and subscribe. And we will be back again after the North London derby on the weekend, where hopefully we are celebrating putting Tottenham to the sword. Until then, I will see you guys later, and up the Gunners. Bye, everyone.